Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, Hump Day. Jim Coyle with you, as always. Looking forward to another day of it. Plenty to get to. Going to talk about the NCAA's, what do you call that? The Independent Accounting Resolution process, the IARR, on how they are dealing with some of these FBI cases that were in the past. Several schools waiting for that. Indiana set to, what is today? Wednesdays, take on Ohio State tomorrow. Rick Bozich to join us a little later. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this NCAA deal as well, as North Carolina State becomes the first school to deal with that. And we'll also talk with Derrick Jackson a little bit later as well. Keegan Nicholson sitting in on the producing side today, as John is out on another assignment as well. Keegan Nicholson, what's up with you?
Nothing much. Just back in Cincinnati, waiting to get
tree.
Back.
I want tree video, man.
No tree videos. Way too bushy. But back in Cincinnati, glad that I know the plan now for the next few days, because it was looking like it was trending towards Indiana was going to go remote for a few weeks with all the other schools doing it. But they sent out an email yesterday saying that we're going in person, and they encourage us to have stronger masks when we come back, like KN95 and stuff like that.
You kind of jumped into the middle of that. Go back to the beginning and explain what you were talking about.
What do you mean?
Attending games, going to assembly. Are you talking about school?
I'm talking about school.
Okay, so
yeah,
didn't know what you're talking. I didn't know if you were talking about going to games or coming to school. So students, you're talking about students returning.
Yeah. I meant a remote learning. That, like, Michigan State's first 3 weeks are going to be remote. Northwestern's first 3 weeks, I think Illinois is, and Cincinnati announced it yesterday that they're going remote for a while. So I was fully expecting Indiana to go remote, but it looks like they are set on getting back in person and taking extra precautions if they can. But
so what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts, I want to be in person. I definitely wouldn't have minded being remote, because it would have kind of allowed me to focus more on, thehoosier.com and reporting for basketball and stuff. But I mean, if I'm paying money to go to school, I'd like to be in person. And I love walking on Indiana's campus, going class to class, even though it's probably going to be 20 to 25 degrees consistently here in the next week for a while. But I would definitely like to be in person.
Hey, I didn't even realize they had the 2022 version of the Winter Classic on New Year's Day. I missed that in the NHL.
In Minnesota.
Is that where I was going to say? My next question was, where did they play this one?
Yeah, it was like right in the middle of Target Field in Minnesota, which as a fan, I don't know how that would feel, because it's just so much extra space in between the seats and the actual rink.
It did draw, the TNT broadcast drew 1.4 million viewers, which marks its most watched NHL game thus far in this season on any network.
Yeah.
So it certainly drew the Flyers and the Panthers, Philadelphia Flyers and Florida Panthers. A regular season game between those two on December 12th, 2000 also drew 1.4 million viewers. In 2020, the last time the Winter Classic was held, the game drew almost 2 million on NBC. So there you go. I'm sure that Bob Kravitz was watching that.
Yeah, the players are actually complaining that it was too cold for that game in Minnesota. I think it was.
Well, it very well may have been. I mean, we're not talking about. It's outside, man. Although you play a game that's on ice, football plays outside. I mean, I kind of don't want to hear. I don't want to hear hockey players crying about playing a game outside. Let's see. I'm not a big hockey fan. Not that I don't like it. I just was not born. I did not grow up with it.
Neither did I, in all honesty.
Just looking at some of the other Nips, news, and notes. Anything else that jumped out for you over this weekend that we haven't touched on?
I don't know about this weekend, but from what I'm hearing, there was a pretty crazy game. LSU went into Rupp Arena yesterday and beat Kentucky. And I think
you're
Illinois
talking basketball now?
Yeah. Illinois beat Minnesota. I think Kofi scored 29 and grabbed 10 rebounds. So that matchup with him and Trace come conference play when we play Illinois is going to be a probably nationally televised one, I would expect. Just them going back and forth all game, and it's going to be really, really, really entertaining.
Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts penned a letter to the NFL and the Washington football team asking what could be done to prevent further incidents like the one he was involved in on Sunday when a railing at FedEx Field leading to the visitors' locker room collapsed as fans gathered to congratulate him following Philly's 2016 win, which I think that's kind of dumb. Why does he really think that he needs to send a letter asking him? Does he not think that the NFL is all over this, like the CIA? There is no sports organization like the NFL that when something happens, they're not audited in triplicate, I assure you. Mm-hmm. So isn't it nice that Jalen Hurts is penning a letter, but I don't think Jalen Hurts needs to pen a letter for the NFL to jump in on getting that fixed so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they have done much for Washington Stadium, the NFL specifically, because, I mean, they've had sewage water falling from the ceilings multiple times through the season, and I don't know if they've done anything about that. But I just think
maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe
I'm completely wrong.
He's probably just trying to give him an extra nudge. But as I'm being corrected in the comments, Kentucky was at LSU, and LSU pulled off the win.
Oh, we're going to talk about it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
When we get into talking about basketball. Just going down through the general nitbits of Ohio State beats out Wisconsin for 4-star offensive lineman. Another one. Man, they are piling it up. Ohio State is really continuing to pile up. I think there's no question they have been the Big Ten's star again recruiter so far this year.
Doesn't look like that's going to for a while.
No, that's not going to change in any scenario. In any league. Well, now the SEC, that's going to be interesting. That is going to be very interesting to see once you get Texas and Oklahoma in there, all that money that is fighting for guys. Texas has their own money, man. They're like, oh, we're going to bring some Texas oil money into the SEC, baby. Now that it's legal, it's on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I'm all for Texas being back. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but there was a back in time kind of video where on this day in history, it was Vince Young sauntering into the end zone to beat USC in that national championship. And just picture, would you ever think around this era that Texas and USC would be playing in a national championship?
Now
the answer is no, not at all.
No, and I brought this up yesterday. I go, what happened to every year or every couple years? It was kind of a rotating thing. You would see teams coming up. Say Texas was good, they're good, but they're not at the top yet. But in a year or so, boom, they're at the top, and it would be a rotating. Not anymore. It's the same exact teams that are paying. It's just these are machines now.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change. You think it's going to change now? No. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Although it's not that upsets can't happen. Michigan, I still say Michigan upset Ohio State this year. It was just that time. I mean, it's not like Michigan's not a good program. It's not like they didn't have good talent. It's not like Harbaugh's not a good coach. It's going to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they lost that many in a row was crazy. But But Ohio State will be back. I promise you.
Yeah.
Next season.
Yeah.
With a yeah. So, but I wonder, how are teams like Indiana and Maryland, how are they going to compete now? Because this season, you can't use this season because there were so many reasons for Indiana's lack of success that had nothing to do with talent. Although you cannot put them on a level of talent with these other programs because they don't have that. So how are they going? There's a difference in the SEC and the Big Ten. Between the talent in the SEC goes a lot deeper than it does in the Big Ten. And although the Big Ten had a winning record, bowl record this year, they were 6-4, ended the bowl season 6-4. That means 10 out of the 14 teams were in bowl games. That's nuts. Indiana was not. Northwestern was not. Illinois was not. And who else do we leave? So it's got to be somebody over in the
well, Rutgers played in the bowl. I don't know if you're
I know Rutgers did. I did not. I left them in. Nebraska was not.
Yeah.
So everybody else played in a bowl game. That's a lot of money for the Big Ten, first of all. That's a lot of money. But that's 10 out of your 14 teams playing postseason.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. That's very, very deep. And that's what, as a conference, you want, because the Big Ten, all that bowl money comes in and it is split, to my knowledge. No, I think that you get bonuses and whatnot, but the Big Ten, I think, still is a better conference top to bottom.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to stay that way, but they don't have the teams at the top that Alabama is. Alabama just is and will always be a machine until they're not.
Until Nick Saban decides he's bored and retires. That doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon.
Yep, and it's not just Nick Saban; it's Nick Saban and the machine that they have going. Seriously,
yeah.
Because the machine can stay in place, but if you don't have the guy, which is Nick Saban running it, there's absolutely zero guarantees that continues. Because look at Clemson. You think that they don't have everything that they've always had except for a Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
They did not have a Trevor Lawrence. And if you don't have a quarterback, an NFL type quarterback, what has Alabama had year after year? An NFL a caliber quarterback.
In the last few years they have. Blake Sims, which I can't remember how far they went that year that Blake Sims was their quarterback, but I don't even think he got drafted. But that was just, I think they had one of the best defenses in like NCAA history that year. And then, Nick Saban at the helm is going to take you far. But it has been interesting how quickly they have gone from mediocre quarterbacking with A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy, Blake Sims. And then they got.
And when you say mediocre, that mediocre's is everyone else's top of the line, though.
Mediocre, I guess what I'm saying is like not Heisman potential. So pretty good. And then you've got Jalen Hurts, Heisman candidate, Tua, Heisman candidate, Bryce Young, Heisman winner. So, and Mac Jones, first round pick.
Look at New England right now. Look at what Bill Belichick is doing with that quarter. Where'd that quarterback come from?
Alabama. Mac Jones.
Rookie. But it's not just him. Here in the last couple of years, you want to know why these programs are so great? You look at Mac Jones at New England. Look at Justin Fields at Chicago. Look at what's the running back at Pittsburgh?
Najee Harris.
Of course, he came from Alabama as well.
Derrick Henry.
Okay, you got Najee Harris and Mac Jones. Weren't they on the same team?
And Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle.
Come on. These guys are all in the freaking NFL playing.
Yeah.
Starting quarterback as a rookie. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Rookies don't start as quarterbacks in the NFL.
And they're probably going to make the playoffs.
Najee Harris. I mean, give me they have pros now. You're not going to beat those teams ever the way this system's set up, and this system's not going to change.
All right,
yes, it is break time. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hit us up with your thoughts, comments on different things. Let's get into some different sports comments today, or topics today. Back with plenty more on Indiana Sports Beat. Rick Bozich is with us today. Derrick Jackson will be joining us as well. Right after this.
I could have swore I saw a tweet saying that they went into Rupp Arena and won, but I guess I was wrong.
IU has a better recruiting class than Clemson.
They do, but Clemson got the number 1 5-star quarterback, so I think that counts for.
So
multiple.
that just kicked that right to the curb. CJ Stroud, best quarterback in college. I believe that. That dude, he's just poised, man. But it's easy to be poised when you have an NFL caliber offensive line in front of you.
And 3 NFL receivers to throw to.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this is not true, but I think that allows these guys to get better.
I think it's basically going to be a race between him and Bryce Young for the Heisman and the number 1 overall pick, and it might come down to the national championship game.
All right, let's see. We continue talking about this. That was a good little subject.
Yeah.
What was that?
I forgot about
what
Ed Briggs is saying.
Michigan?
There was a report that Harbaugh might be tempted to leave to the NFL.
I saw that, but no. There's no. Not right. I'm saying no because he fought long and hard to get to this point. It took him 7 years to beat Ohio State. He is not going to leave Michigan. Not this second. A, B. Yeah, he hasn't had success yet.
He's got to build a team just like Ohio State, basically, because they don't have like those world beater receivers, and he didn't have a world beater quarterback. He had a world beater defensive front, linebackers, offensive line, and then he had good running backs. But I think he saw Georgia, realized that was probably his team's ceiling, and then now he wants to run away.
I don't know that he realized how much recruiting had changed in college football. Not the cheating, but the level of talent you have to have. You can't recruit your typical college players anymore and what's the word I'm looking for? Develop them through the processes of old. You have to bring in the top talent and develop that.
Mm-hmm. All right, back in
8:48 break.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. It is Hump Day. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thank you very much. Keegan Nicholson sitting in with me right now as producing. Waiting on Derrick Brooks to join us, and then later we'll talk to Rick Bozich. We've been talking about college football, and what did I say off the break? Oh yeah, someone asked, "What's the assessment on Michigan?" I think that Jim Harbaugh is realizing that it's the talent level you have to have is beyond what he thought his first time through college. It is not the same. Like Keegan just mentioned, that seeing Georgia probably opened his eyes, but they beat an Ohio State team that is on par with that talent-wise. They have an offensive line that, you know, you're going to put up there with anybody. So he knows he's been up against that, but I think that it's Michigan is not to that level of Ohio State and the SEC recruiting just yet, but I don't think it'll take long. I mean, they could do that this year now that he with NIL. You think there's not money up there? Dude, the school alone. And that's the thing. Could a school ever funnel NIL money through somebody? I mean, I know they can. Because look at a school like Michigan who makes probably $6 million per football game because they have 110,000 people there. They charge $55 for media parking. Trust me, I know. So they make so much money, it's not funny.
Yeah.
They might make more money than any other college football program. How are they not? I mean, other than merchandising, because they're selling out 110,000 seat stadium every game.
Mm-hmm.
Their parking is ungodly what they do. So I know they have to be making the most money in college football. I know that Texas is known for that, but I don't think that they make what Michigan does. So I could see them. What's going to prevent schools from actually paying NIL money? What's the difference between a school paying Trace Jackson Davis, I'll go basketball here, to do commercials for it? Hey, I love Indiana University. I've had a great time, and I think you could come to school at Indiana University. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I had a great time as a student, yada, yada, bam. It's a paid, I'm not kidding. It's a paid gig. Do you think there are rules now? I don't think so. I don't see any rules that are being followed. I'm going to have to find a different example besides this stupid one in Texas with the linemen, but where, you know, they have the standing offer for every offensive lineman is going to get $50,000, every scholarship offensive lineman. Well, that's against the rules because you haven't named somebody. You're just offering it in blank. You're inducing someone to come there.
Yeah.
So there are no rules. The gloves are off. Why? What's going to stop a school from going through one of their already boosters and saying, "Hey, here's $500,000. We'd like for you to offer this to blah blah."
Yeah, well,
they've been cheating up until now. Do you think that they're not going to cheat now that it's mostly legal?
It's like what Jim Reamer said when he had coaches coming up to him to be the middleman after games to talk to recruits. That's really all they're doing. It's schools going to a middleman and then lining something up. But
I don't even know that they're going to even need to do that anymore. I don't think the NCAA cares anymore.
Yeah. I've got the college football revenue rankings here. It doesn't say what year, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty recent. Michigan is fourth at over 133.5 million. Alabama third. 100.
Wait a minute. What are those schools?
Yeah, schools.
No. Football. Individually in football.
Oh, yeah. It's college football value rankings.
Now, see, well, who's number one? Texas?
Texas.
Okay. That's value rankings. That's not what they're making.
Revenues as of
college football.
2018, Texas was 163 million. The next closest was Alabama with 140. Ohio State 136, Michigan 133.
Who was third?
Third is Georgia with 138 million.
Okay. I want to know how this is being figured, because of those four, Michigan has the largest stadium, sold out. I guarantee you they're bringing in more money because they're charging for every stinking little thing that there is. Value, I don't know if they're, I don't know what all they're adding into that. I'm not reading the same article you are, but as far as pulling money in,
you got to think, Michigan, they have, I mean, in Detroit, you've got the Lions and then the Tigers. They have other things to do besides football. Like once Michigan football ends, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go on to this thing. SEC
yeah, but that's
football,
not
SEC football in the South is a religion, and it's like a way of life, and that's how they treat it.
So is Michigan football. That's why you get 110,000 people.
Not as much.
Dude, they're going to a stadium, 110,000 people are going to a stadium when it's freaking freezing.
I believe
freezing,
that.
Not when it's 70 degrees. So there's a big difference to me when you fill a 110,000 stadium when it's freezing cold. Yeah, it's easy to do it when it's 70 degrees. So,
so do you think if Alabama built a bigger stadium, do you think they'd be able to sell it out weekly?
How big?
120,000.
120? No, 110. Yeah,
I think so. So
110 right now. But no, because there gets to be too big and people don't want to deal with it. But regardless, my point being is Michigan is bringing this kind of money in right now. And even if this thing does list them fourth, it lists them with 3 SEC teams.
Yeah.
So it puts them right there in exactly where I say that they are. They're at that level. They have the funds. And they want back. NIL, I think, is a way to get back quickly. The portal is a way to get back quickly. I don't know if Michigan has been a school that has been a leader in NIL. I haven't heard a lot about NIL deals for Michigan. I've heard a lot. I've heard more for IU than I have for Michigan, to be honest with you. But is that something that they have not relied on? Have they just relied on the fact that, well, this is Michigan, come play in Michigan? That kind of a deal. I promise you, that kid that went to Ohio State, the quarterback that left already, he left school early for an NIL deal. So it's we have not seen the change yet in football. I don't think that is coming. And even though Indiana had their greatest recruiting class ever currently, how is that going to, are they going to be able to keep up? That's my question. Even though they just had that great recruiting class, a top 20 recruiting class, are they going to be able to keep up? Because right now, a couple of things, they don't have a stinking quarter. They don't really have a true starting quarterback. I mean, I know that there's Jack Tuttle, and we haven't heard anything new. The portal's out there. Those guys are out there. Haven't heard anything. Nothing new on the offensive line front, where they were absolutely horrific last year. No change. As a fan, I'm sure the fans have got to be a little, they don't care right now. They want to talk about basketball, but hey, it's not going anywhere. Football season will come back around next year. So if you're a fan, you probably need to be paying attention to the fact that they're not making any changes in certain areas. Mm-hmm. And that has to be scary. I mean, for someone looking at it from the outside independently, I'm like, what the hell are y'all going to do next year when you've made no changes on your offensive line, no changes in the coaching there, no additions talent-wise? Why do you think it's going to be different all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth waiting a little bit longer because when you're looking at the transfer portal and signing day and people that they want to bring in, and you're not seeing any offensive line additions, do you want the coaching staff to add offensive line pieces from teams that didn't make a bowl and their players are already in the portal? Or do you want them to wait until after bowl season where these guys can enter the portal after they've had the conversations with their families? And I think you're going to see even more action now than you have the last month after season's ended. So I definitely would give a little bit more time, maybe a week or two. I know in terms of quarterbacks, they're looking at John Reese Plumlee from Ole Miss. He's from what I'm hearing, is deciding between UCF and Indiana because they're both going to allow him to play baseball and football. So there is some developments on that side, and it's going to be very, very exciting. And if they can get Casey Thompson from Texas, I think that should be your moonshot.
Well, go back a little bit more to the quarterback. Explain to everybody about, first of all, this newfound pipeline to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Already, I if I'm correct, three players have transferred directly from Ole Miss to Indiana, if I'm correct, right? All three of those have been on the defensive line.
Yeah.
So give Coach Kevin Peoples, a shout out on that. But the funny thing is, all this happened after Indiana played them in the bowl game. And so you usually don't transfer to a team you lose to.
Yeah.
I mean, you beat. So that's been an odd sort of thing. But so obviously Indiana needs a quarterback, and that would open that up. But I don't know that this is part of that Ole Miss pipeline. It just maybe coincidence because of the opening at quarterback, and there is a current relationship.
I think the pipeline for this quarterback, John Reese Plumlee, is that he's a quarterback in the portal. I mean, if you search all the Twitter pages for these quarterbacks that are in the portal, Walt Bell or one IU coach is following, I'd say about 90% of them. I think when I looked, they weren't following Emory Jones and I think one more, but Zach Calzada, Casey Thompson, John Reese Plumlee. I have them in my notes here. I just can't remember because there's so freaking many.
And Reese is spelled R-H-Y-S, very, very English.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, that could be a double get for Indiana.
Yeah, baseball and football.
Very talented outfielder for Ole Miss, and let me tell you, that's a talented baseball program. You don't just,
Joe
Schmoes. They don't have Joe Schmoes on that program. That's an SEC baseball program.
Yeah, it's all high level recruits. I mean, if you're a pitcher, you've got to throw at least, I'd say 92, 93 if you want to go there. Then you've got to hit 8 bombs your senior year in high school if you want to even have a chance. That's pretty much the line that you have to hit.
In high school, he was a 4-year letterman in baseball under his coach, their number 11 prospect, number 4 outfielder in the state. I think he threw a perfect game. Let's see, he was all state. Yeah, he's just been all state, everything. He's just all world. He's just one of those athletes. So he's a dual threat. He was the number 7 dual threat quarterback in the nation at one point, a 4-star football prospect. He was the 2018 Mississippi Class 6A Offensive Player of the Year. So there you go. And he's a talented pianist and musician. So he could be coming to the music school.
To the Jacob School of Music.
He chose Ole Miss over Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, Notre Dame, and others. So he had offers from all over the place.
Yeah, he's extremely athletic and he's extremely fast. That's something I'll add. When I was watching his highlights, he was outrunning DBs. So that dual threat it's not, set 80% pass, 20% run. It's probably 60-40 on the pass side, but he's a serious threat.
The thing is, that I like about him, he's just an athlete.
Yeah.
And that's what I love to see in a quarterback, a guy that's just an athlete, a competitor. Because if they're a competitor, if they're playing multiple sports, they're a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
But
if you're going to bring in another quarterback that has trouble throwing, I think this fan base might have a riot because I think they want someone who can really sling it all over the field.
Well, does John Reese Plumlee have trouble throwing it?
I'm not sure completely, but he looks like he's a very good runner, and he might rely on that a little bit.
Too much.
I think there are better throwers in the portal. I will tell you that.
Ole Miss lost their quarterback. Didn't they lose their quarterback to
the draft
early?
Yeah. Matt Corral.
They also lost him in the game. He didn't play in the
he got hurt. And then there was the opting out conversation again.
For whatever reason, they had him listed as wide receiver.
Plumlee?
Yeah.
He might have been, and that might be why he's transferring. But we got him. So
yeah, you're way late. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this on this Wednesday. Brought to you by good friends at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, if you're looking for a new deal, they've got them. $0 down, 0% APR financing. Get out there and see our good friends at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Back with more right after this.
I was 37 seconds late.
I'm just kidding you. Put that one up.
Oh, yeah. Woodson presser at 10:30. I'm not going to be able to make that.
Then I will have to make it. So let me respond. Thank you. I didn't even see that. When did that come out?
Yesterday.
Oh. Go back. Chris Coffee. Oh. Do one ticker. And Rob after practice around 3.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess he just tries to get multiple guys so you can get them in front of the media, but I don't know. Who would you want to see after that Penn State game? Who would you want to talk to in terms of a player? Parker Short? But no, that wouldn't happen.
No. I want Xavier.
Yeah. He hasn't been on Zooms.
Well, but, and not because I want to ream him or anything, but there's just questions. I'm like, all right, this team still does not seem to have found its zen, its flow, its balance. There is I don't know that they're going to. I mean, there's a lot of games to be played, but yes, please.
I can be.
Now, why do you not think you're available for that?
10:30?
Yeah.
I've got to do the ads for your show and edit your show and get them on socials.
But this will only last 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to do this first.
Yeah. I think Alex should be able to get on it.
But if he's not, then you can take the time to do this first to be on here. Because if it just delays everything 15 minutes, who cares?
Okay.
That's right at 10:30. As soon as we get off.
All right, well, you're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Hump Day, Wednesday. We'll be talking to Mike Woodson later after the show. We'll have that for you tomorrow. And you can also go to thehoosier.com at any time later today to get that. I believe we're also, who else player-wise are we talking to?
Rob Fantasy.
Rob Finnessy. Rob he came in and provided some solid minutes and good spark in the loss to Penn State. We haven't talked about that yet. We will. It's man, that's a bad loss for Indiana when you go to a team that is probably going to end up finishing in the lower 4 of the league, I'm going to guess, and you just simply can't lose to them anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's at home or on the road. There are certain teams you just cannot lose to, because now you're going to have to make that up. You're going to have to beat, in my opinion, you're going to have to beat a team that you weren't expected to beat. You got to even that up, Keegan, because otherwise that's a game that's negative in the slot, in the ledger. And I don't think this team has any margin for error as far as making the NCAA tournament, because they did not play anybody in the preseason, in the pre-conference. They haven't played anybody. And the ones that they did play, they lost. Mm-hmm. You lose to a very average to subpar Syracuse team. That's not going to help you. So to make the NCAA tournament, this team is going to have to come up with some wins to put on that resume. And they've got time to do that. They're on the schedule. But a road win is, to me, because that's one of the things that I don't know, was it last season it was. Minnesota could not win a game on the road to save their life. Mm-hmm. And they did not make the tournament. But Indiana's going to have to find a way to come together as a team. They're just still not. They just are not playing. They have not found their mojo. In the break, Keegan asked me, what player would I want to talk to? It would be Xavier Johnson. Not to question him particularly, but just the team. They are not gelled yet. They are not. They haven't found their mojo. It's either this or that. And they have not found a way to meld it all together. They have not found a way to use Trace and Reese by going through them, and yet also the guys on the wings. Mm-hmm. Miller, Kopp, Parker, Stewart. No complimenting from that. To actually, that should be pulling away from Reese and Trace, making their jobs easier. Now, Xavier has tried to do some of that, but sometimes he's tried to do too much of that. So a little less Xavier, a little more from the wings, and then I think you've got a nice little recipe there. But they have not mixed that up together yet that I see.
Yeah, it's how they talk about the coaches telling them that they need to play inside out, but they have two guys in their starting 5, Miller and Parker Stewart, who just will not offensively go past the 3-point line in terms of trying to score. So they're only taking shots from beyond the 3-point line. And I think it was yesterday, you mentioned that Miller Kopp has the best free throw percentage on the team, and he's the best free throw shooter on the team, but he doesn't drive in and try to draw contact. So it is.
He has not taken a free throw in the Big Ten. Now, I know that's only been 3 games,
but it's
I don't care.
Yeah.
Not one free throw. That means you have not drawn. That's exactly what I mean. They're not coming in from the wing. They're not doing anything to draw attention. They're not doing anything to open. It's still kind of an odd, and I'm not blaming Miller Kopp. It looks like they're still trying to find their way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the growing pains that Woodson talks about, but it doesn't sound like that's an excuse anymore, especially when you get into Big Ten play. Syracuse, I understand it. Wisconsin, I half understand it, but that 22-point lead is something that just can't be blown like they did. And I'm curious how the media is going to talk to Woodson today in terms of, when is growing pains no longer an excuse, or is it going to be the whole first season is growing pains? And that's what fans should expect.
Yeah, I think that, these guys are freshmen. Miller Kopp's, he has 3 years of playing in the Big Ten. So he's trying to find his way with a new team. He knows it's Trace Jackson's team, so to speak. But that can only be that if Trace Jackson is dominating game in, game out. And he's facilitating, helping. Well, that's not happening. Yes, he's played well. He scored points. But I'm not going to say he's dominating. He's not changing games. They're giving it. Those like, all right, well, they'll give it up. They'll give up Trace Jackson Davis scoring points. Hell, who was it that he set the career points against that game for 40? Marshall? But they almost won. Marshall, it was still a game.
Yeah.
So they'll give up 40 points to Trace Jackson Davis. He's not getting help everywhere. If you're not getting it from everywhere else, then that's okay. You're not going to lose 42 by someone scoring 40 points if no one else is scoring. And that's kind of been the issue. You have, this team has got to become a team. Whether you're Miller Kopp, he's got to find a role. He has to create a role. He has to not be afraid to take a shot. Not just, it has to be wise. And it's like they still seem a little bit, I don't know if the word's afraid to
tentative
to carve out their own role. And Parker Stewart, we talk about him, dude. If he's not getting 7 shots a game, then there's a problem. He has to be taking, and I don't care what it takes to get those shots. As a matter of fact, the next game, I don't care if you said, all right, we're going to set screens in the first half, and you're going to have 7 shots in this first half come hell or high water. Do it. Whatever it takes. Get it going, because if you do that, and, well, they're going to have to make adjustments. And that starts to loosen things up. And then that will change things. But we're not seeing anything different yet.
Yeah, the 7 shots has to happen, and the 4 shots in 32 minutes on the floor with 2 points can't happen. And that's going to handicap you in terms of winning games if your number one shooter can't get shots up and he's just standing on the floor without the ball in his hands. And like I said before, I think it was yesterday, he's not that good defensively that he can make up for that. So,
yeah, and they're going to have to do that, because as you get further and further into Big Ten play, it's going to get more and more difficult. They have not played what I would call an upper half team yet, but that's going to change in 2 days. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I'm not saying Ohio State is a top 4 team, but they're an upper half team. I think that they will finish in the upper half of the Big Ten without question. They're a team like Indiana, but I think they're just a couple of steps ahead. They're playing better, it seems to me.
Yeah, they definitely they aren't relying on EJ Liddell like some people thought they might have, and like Indiana relies on Trace. I think when I looked at their box scores from their past few games, they had 5 to 6 people who were scoring over 15 points. I think it was their point guard. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Who are you talking about?
Malachi Branham, or Malik Branham, I think it is. He had 35 points in 42 minutes against Nebraska when they went to Nebraska and beat them 87-79.
Who are you talking about?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shocker that's leading the league right now, well, there's 3 3-0 teams, but overall record, they've won 7 straight. They're undefeated on the road, undefeated at home. Michigan State. Shocker.
Mm.
Tom Izzo's got a team playing well. They're 12-2 overall.
Yeah, they had a lot of roster turnover too. And that was something when I went to media days that I was researching. They brought in a ton of freshmen and a ton of transfers. But that's just Tom Izzo doing what he's done for however many years he's been there.
How about who expected Purdue to be 1-2 after the first 3 games of the conference? No one here, I assure you.
And to lose it.
What's that?
And to lose at home. I don't think anyone expected him to lose at home the whole season.
No, but again, in this league, not shocked. I'm going to be shocked if anyone goes undefeated at home in the Big Ten. That includes Michigan State. Just sometimes it's somebody else's night, but Purdue's not been playing that great. They will. They haven't gotten Edey does not know how to use his body. Edey is a giant human being. I mean, he is 7'4". I don't know what he weighs. It's probably 280 just because of it. But he is so clumsy. He does not know how to not knock people down with his damn elbows. And he's 7'4". Yeah. First of all, hold your elbow above your head and you can't hit anybody because nobody's that tall. But if he had mobility, he would be a bad man. But he's not. He's got size on you. And like, let's say if Indiana's playing them, he's going to be hard to guard, to hold off because of his size. He's got size over you. But he's not, he can be physical. I think you can out physically him.
Yeah, absolutely. That one thing about him, if he's throwing those elbows around, one of those near misses will cause that defender to back up a few inches.
Well, and you get a name for it, and you get known for it. He got called for it twice now already. The referees they start to look for it. And because I think that second one was kind of like that. Ed asked, what is considered cheating now since NIL is legal? I don't know. I mean, I know it's supposed to be cheating, but what is actually cheating, I no longer know. The truth joins us. It's about time you got up. Ed thinks that there's a little bit of pipeline to Auburn, not like Ole Miss, but Ed asked if a player goes into the portal or visits paid. Well, there's no Well, that's a good question.
The official visits are, and then the unofficial probably.
Yep, it's just like anything else. Brad Nix, isn't it concerning that a quarterback playing baseball will miss spring football, or do they? Well, I would imagine if he came to Indiana, he would not miss spring football in his first season because he's going to want to try to get that starting job. And so that's a great point, though. That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't think you can possibly do both in terms of being at every spring football practice and being at every baseball lift or game, especially when they're traveling all over the country.
With school.
Yeah. But that's a sacrifice you're going to make, especially if you're in Indiana's case without a quarterback.
And you know what? He's probably going to be considered a walk-on baseball player.
He played in 40 games at Ole Miss.
I'm just saying he's not scholarship. His scholarship's coming from football.
Gotcha.
So he would be considered a walk-on baseball player. So it's not really counting against the scholarship numbers. So they're going like, you know what? It would be nice to have him here, but he's not a scholarship baseball recruit. He's a scholarship football recruit first. So we get him when we get him. But when's spring football over? Into March?
I'm not sure. That's not much spring if you're ending in March.
But I can't remember. Anyway, but baseball goes on into June. But again, he's just a bonus player for baseball. It's just a bonus player, so it is what it is. Yes, we talked about that earlier. You have to have an offensive line no matter who it is, and they did not have that. Let's see. It says Nebraska took down number 8 Michigan. And they take on the Huskers at the Hall on January 13th. Nebraska beat Michigan?
I think so, yeah.
Or is that the women? There's a W in front of that.
I don't think Michigan's number 8 in men's because I think they've had a few bad losses.
I didn't know Michigan lost to Nebraska in basketball.
I think it was women's because they said Nebraska's coming to the Hall on the 13th, and we already played Nebraska men's basketball. Okay.
Now, Nebraska, who did they take to overtime the other night? With Ohio State. Was it Ohio State? Yeah. Ohio State's last game. They go to overtime at Nebraska. Now, I just mentioned Michigan State. Now, they went to overtime at Northwestern the other day. So, every game in the Big Ten, baby, battling. You have to be able to battle.
Yeah. We got to take a break.
So let's do it. We got lots more coming up. What time is coming up next at 8:30? We got more basketball, more football to talk about. We'll be back with that here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our great friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington, home of the IU men's and men's basketball show and football as well. Back right after this. Look who's on show.
What's up, guys? What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
Good, man. It's a great day to be a Hoosier. It's a great day to be born on January 5th because today is my birthday, brother, and I'm getting ready to celebrate. Hey, man, I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. It's a great year. I'm just excited about, these Hoosiers, man. I know that we didn't do so well in the last game, but I think, man, we're gonna rebound, man. We're gonna rebound. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would be a great time to do that.
Yeah, this is a birthday month for my family. My father's is the 7th, which is 2 days. My brother's is the 9th. My sister's is the 13th. Her daughter's is the 15th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of Capricorn babies in your family, huh, Jim?
I'm in February, baby. I got my own.
Baby. You got your own month.
Month, my own month, my own sign. I'm Aquarius.
That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Abraham Lincoln, same day as Abraham Lincoln.
Abe Day, baby, man. Yeah, man. It's holiday season, man. I tell you, man, it's been a good holiday season. I mean, a lot of family down, grandkids came down, and they running around the house and paying attention to them and trying to do other things just don't work. They want all your attention, man, especially around Christmas Day.
Where are you, Fort Myers?
Fort Myers, Florida. Yes, sir. Well, the weather is now a nice, I'd say, maybe 68, 67 degrees. Hey, I put this on to make you guys not feel so bad.
Feel at home, yeah.
That's all right. Hey, last week, I haven't been on vacation in 5 years. 5 years.
Wow.
And last week, there was a 10-day stretch where all Indiana had was one basketball game right in the middle on a Wednesday. The day before, they COVID canceled that. And I got so mad. I'm like, I could have gone somewhere. I could have done something for a few days just to get rest. I bolted town.
Right. I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. Man,
I did.
Get down here sometime. Jim, next time you decide to take a little vacation, a weekend getaway, bro, you need to get down here, man. I got you, man. I live right off of a golf course, brother. You just get down here, man.
Well, I went to the Tampa area last weekend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I'm about an hour and a half south of Tampa.
Is that all it is?
Hour and a half south. Yep. Then you got Sarasota, and you got
right.
Places like that. Then you got Fort Myers, Charlotte County. Then you got Lee County,
Naples.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's where Coach Mallory and I would golf. He had a condo down there, so him and I would golf there. We golf every year. Every year he come down, we golf.
All right, we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. DJ Derrick Jackson joining me now. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, Jim. Hey, happy New Year to everybody that's listening to this great radio station, man. We're gonna have some exciting things going off in 2022.
Happy New Year to you as well. Yes, it is certainly that. As 22 has come around, I cannot believe 2022. Think back when you were in school, writing the date. Seriously, think back to like elementary, even high school, writing the date down. Can you and thinking if somebody was said, think up till 2022, and you're like, what? That was like some Jetson stuff, man. I'm like, that date's never even gonna come. And whoo.
I tell you, Jim, I don't think we really have that much time on the air for me to think, because that's gonna take a long time for me to think back.
Man, it's just crazy. The bowl game. Bowl season kind of in the books, -1 so far. Any shockers to you? Of course, we've got an all SEC championship coming up with Georgia, Alabama, a replay of the SEC title game.
Well, I tell you, Jim, what was a shocker, even though it was the expectation, was that Alabama was going to really do in Cincy. But what the shocker was how, Cincy, really jumped out on the scene. Everybody gave them their praise. They should be there. They should be number one. All these great things right here. But again, folks, I don't care whether it's basketball, I don't care whether it's football, baseball, until you are playing some reputable opponents, you don't slam. You're gonna slam. I mean, you're gonna get slammed, man. And that's what Alabama did. Now, great. I mean, Desmond Ridder did a great job. That was really the only shocker. But I'm not surprised to see Bama and Georgia in the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, every year we end up with, it seems like just 2 teams at that level this year, and every year, because the semi games are not close, so it says like, and I'm like, why are there only 2 teams at that level every year now? It did not used to be that way, and people don't like it. People don't want to see Alabama in the national championship game. Other than Alabama fans, nobody wants to see Alabama in the national championship game. I can promise you. They're sick of it. But Alabama says, beat us.
I got an answer for the folks that don't want to see Alabama in the national championship.
Beat them.
Beat them. And whatever school that you root for, tell them to out-recruit Nick Saban. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I'm just not gonna happen. I mean, honestly, folks, and I'll say it again. Right now, there's only one coach that can compete with a Nick Saban when it comes to recruiting. And my friend, he has only been on the coaching circuit for 1 year, and that's a guy by the name of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. That's the only one that can compete with it.
But the sad thing is, but what's going on in Alabama is not just coaching and recruiting, and that's not. You look at Ohio State. Ohio State is as close as the Big Ten has to offer to that, and they're not there. They're not there yet. They're there, and it's just not. That's the one thing about college football that's not fun. NCAA basketball tournament, you don't know who's going to win. Everybody's in. You don't know who's going to win, and
no, you don't.
That's why everybody loves it. Upsets left and right. It's a blast. That's the greatest sporting event every year for me, is to watch the NCAA tournament. And this does not have that.
Now, you used to could count on a Duke, a St. John's, a Georgetown, a Kentucky, a North Carolina. You could count in Indiana. You could count on those 6 teams. But now, like you said, Jim, you don't know who's going to be there. It don't have to be a Duke. It could be Arizona. It could be Bowling Green. It could be, you just don't know who it's going to be. Unlike football, like you said, you pretty much know who it's going to be. I mean, you can what the NFL is getting like that now. Pretty much wherever Tom Brady plays, you can pretty much count on them being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Anything shocking happened during the bowl season for you?
Yeah, I was really shocked about the abrupt exit by Mr. Antonio Brown of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah,
the NFL side.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing both seasons, but a lot of people think it's hilarious. A lot of people think it's cute and funny. A lot of people think that, this is something for the media to get a hold of. But what Mr. Brown needs to realize, and I hope that the young man does, is the media is making a circus out of you, son. They're making a circus out of you, okay? You are giving them everything they want. And at the same time, Antonio, you're making yourself, son, look like you don't even belong in the NFL. What was the purpose? Even if the coach had told you to go in, this is what I don't like about these high-paid guys, and I don't care who's listening and who wants to hear it. Listen, guys, football is still football. The coach is still the coach. There's no divas in football, in my opinion. You suit up, the head coach and your position coach coaches the game. You play the game. I don't care how much money you make. Don't matter to me.
Yep. That used to be how it is, but you certainly have certain. But see, to me, they get what they asked for. It's not like that was a shock. It's not like that had not happened before multiple times. I mean, you're waiting for this to happen. And it's just, I don't know. It's just nuts. And I don't know why anybody pays attention to it. I'm like, let it go. Who cares? I couldn't care less. He's not that great to where he's not replaceable.
No, you're right. He's replaceable. What I just don't understand is, I guess the maturity in me and yourself and other people would think, listen, man, I've done this 2 or 3 times. I've gotten chance after chance after chance when most guys that come up wanting to play in the NFL, they don't get. So, at some point, Mr. Brown, you know what? You need to say to yourself, listen, it's time out for this. Do what you're going to do, and you're not going to go to the Hall of Fame, okay? You're not on anyone's wall or anyone. Nobody's got a poster you in their room. You've disappointed a lot of young men. So what you need to do is just play the game, be quiet, and I don't blame Bruce Arians, Coach Arians. Listen, I got much respect for you. I would have cut him too. Cut him. Get rid of him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to go. And he did go, but he causes disruption before that along the way. So we'll talk a little bit about the NFL real quick. The Colts, tough loss for them to the Raiders, but they still look like they're playoff bound.
Yeah, they do.
How about the season for Jonathan Taylor, man? He's had a great year.
Yeah, John Taylor is having a great year, man. I mean, even though he he's probably not where he wants to be. He is their workhorse. He is going to get them into the postseason. And I think the Colts are going to see, they're going to see a pretty decent run. I don't know how far they'll go. That's just about like my Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't surprise me. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan through and through. But listen, man, we just lost to a Super Bowl caliber team, okay, that probably won't even make it to the Super Bowl. Okay, we won't go. When we lost to the Cardinals, we won't go to the Super Bowl playing like we do. We play at home. And I said, I'm an honest fan. I love the Dallas Cowboys. I'm with them through and through. But when we get behind, we will not catch up. And if we get ahead, we will lose a lead. I don't care where we play and lose the game. I mean, come on, man.
Did Aaron Rodgers win the MVP over Jonathan Taylor this week? I mean, the Colts, they lose to the Raiders and the Packers beat the Vikings 37-10 on national TV. He's got them rolling. All the sentiment. This is without question the last season for him in Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay last season. Okay. Well, we know it's Big Ben's last season, but Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. Did he say?
And talk that Aaron Rodgers could be in Pittsburgh next year.
I mean, that's a realistic possibility. That is a very realistic possibility.
But getting back to the main question, MVP Jonathan Taylor. There have been lots of talk, but he's on a team that is they lost to the Raiders, so they're not. They're going to get, I think, make it into the playoffs, but they're not going to win a division. Nope. The Packers looking stronger, so I think Aaron Rodgers kind of took the lead on the MVP race.
Right. He'll get that. There's some discussion, from what I understand, that maybe Michael Parsons, I think he was an MVP talk even, being that he's been compared now to Lawrence Taylor in his first season, and that's a joke. But he's the kid. He had one heck of a season. He is going to be good. Do not get me wrong.
Before you joined us, we talked about Indiana's has a pipeline of sorts to Ole Miss established. Most of that has been on the defensive line.
Right.
3 defensive linemen have come up, but now the quarterback, they have a quarterback that is potentially looking at Indiana to come up as well. So that would be yet a 4th player from Ole Miss to come to Indiana. But Indiana is needing that quarterback. We don't know who that's going to be next year. Obviously, you still have Jack Tuttle in there. You still have the guys that they already had. But we don't know if one of them are going to be the starter. Dexter Williams, who was hurt, and Grant Gremmel, who was a walk-on, who almost had really the most success of the quarterbacks that played last year. So a lot of questions for Indiana football right now. You've got a new OC, no idea who's your number 1 running back going to be. You've lost 2 running backs to Purdue. You've lost 3 players to Purdue. That's not a good look to me, because Indiana's mantra built on LAO, they love each other. And when you lose 3 players to your direct rival, I don't know. That's kind of that's a shiv, man. That's like a shiv in the side, man, to me.
Well, the transfer portal.
I mean, you're a former player. What? And Porter wasn't around when you were there, and let's put it in play that it is now. But 3 of them going to Purdue.
I would have never listened. I'm a firm believer in guys making their own decisions. They're grown men, maybe not as grown as one would think. But to go to Purdue, I was recruited by Purdue myself. I would never go to Purdue, and it's just simply because I'm not saying that they're not a good school, but man, I'm a Hoosier through and through. Period, point blank. I would never go to Purdue, even if I would want to go back to school right now to get my PhD. I'm coming to Indiana. I'm not going to Purdue. I don't care what program they got. But when you got these guys that are doing that, the Porter created it. I mean, they can legally do it. So, I mean, you can't get upset with these guys, man. I mean, when they make these decisions, I mean, is as a knife in the back as it may be, and as a gut-wrenching decision as it may be, I mean, it is what it is, man. So, Indiana, and this is the problem that the Porter creates. Indiana's got to fix their running back room. They've got to fix their quarterback room. You can't have an offense unless you have a designated, for sure, starting quarterback. We don't have that right now, okay? We don't even have a designated, for sure, running back. So, unfortunately for head coach Tom Allen, coach got some issues that's got to be addressed, and it's got to be addressed pretty quickly, man. Like, real quickly. I think we need to go with Donovan McCulley. Need to get a guy a chance, man. He's young. Yeah, he just got his feet wet. We need to get a guy a chance, brother.
Well, he'll certainly get that opportunity, and we'll see what else comes in that regard. But in this offseason, as they prepare to fix the ills that were like the one thing I've said this earlier before you joined us, there's been 0 change, and I'm more than shocked, because had this been any other team, there would have been some big changes. Offensive line, there was no players brought in, none left to my knowledge, no changes in the coaching in that area. And that was probably the genesis of Indiana's biggest problems on offense last year.
In the trenches, man. It starts in the trenches. And we've got to, while we need that quarterback, we've got to get someone to protect that quarterback. We've got to get someone to open holes, man, for the running back. And until we do that, I mean, like I said before, man, we are, unfortunately for Coach Tom Allen, we've got some issues that we got to address, no doubt. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Do I expect us to turn it around very, very quickly? I expect next season to be a challenge for us, man, a real challenge. I really and truthfully do, because we got a lot of things to fix. We got a lot of talent that's really untapped. I mean, Gremmel came in, he did a great job, but listen, man, until you play 10 games, until you play against a Michigan one week, an Ohio State the next week, a Minnesota to Wisconsin the next week, and then a Michigan State, man, you got a long way to go. I told you, baby, this is the Big Ten. This is not the little 10. This is the Big Ten, baby.
Yeah, and it's not getting any easier. Now that you see Michigan that has caught up to an Ohio State. Ohio State's not going to rest on their laurels. You've seen Michigan State rise up. Rutgers played in the Gator Bowl this year. Maryland's coming. On the other side, You've got Purdue with 9 wins for the first time again in a long, long time. Minnesota ended the season well. So, lots to get to. We got to take a break. Rick Bozich will join us next. Looking forward to talking to him. See what's going on with the NCAA and their new arm of the law, I guess you'll say. Back with that here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Derrick, you want to say something?
No, man. Hey, just thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to this every single week, baby.
You bet, appreciate you, brother. Have a great one. We look forward to talking to you next week. Derrick Jackson.
Okay, brother. Take care.
Thank you, Bet. Back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Mr.
What does
Rick.
Derrick do for a real job?
He says he's retired.
Wow.
Let's see.
I think he used to work in finance.
Good for him.
Or, yeah, I wish I was retired. I can tell you that.
You get bored, man.
Oh, I would do something. Yeah. Speaking of retiring, Louisville's retiring Russ Smith's jersey. I saw.
Yes, they are.
Rusticulous?
Yep.
Wow. He ruined my childhood multiple times.
Really?
Why is that?
Because I'm a Cincinnati fan, and he just wouldn't stop hitting buzzer beaters against Cincinnati. And
Dude.
Who was it? Cronin the coach then?
Oh, yeah. Cronin and Patino go back and forth with crazy games. It was a lot of fun to watch. And we would always win at Louisville. Then they would come to Fifth Third Arena, and they would beat us all the time.
I don't even know. How's Cincinnati doing this year?
They started out beating Illinois with Kofi, and then they took Arkansas to the final 20 seconds. And everyone was like, Wes Miller's building something. They're going to be good in this first year. And I think they might have won 2 games since, and they just lost to Tulane at home.
Oh, wow.
So it's not good.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Purdue goes down. Michigan goes down.
Yeah. Arkansas went down to Vanderbilt last night.
Kentucky went down.
And one of my favorite, Walter McCarty sues Evansville.
Yeah, for $75,000.
Yeah, $75,000. That's not even. I don't even know an attorney that would waste his time on that small of a fee.
Yeah, that was weird.
And one of my favorite lines was that they were using was because he had brought such prestige, and they couldn't pay him because he had brought such prestige to the university or something.
They didn't want to pay him some bonus or something because they had financial troubles at the university, or
I'm like, yeah. Who makes this stuff up?
All right, we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. Rick Bozich joining us. Bob Kravitz is on assignment, as they used to say back in the old news days. Rick, how are you, Rick?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jim?
Cannot complain. Just getting through the bowl season. Kentucky had a big bowl win, comeback win over, who was it? They played Iowa?
Iowa, yeah. Purdue and Kentucky didn't really think Iowa was such a big deal like they looked in the first game of the season.
Yeah, fun. And then the Big Ten ends up with a winning bowl record, 6-4, and the SEC will have a losing record at 6-7, but they'll have the 2 best teams, obviously, in the in the country. So take from that what you will. Anything from the bowl season that jumped out at you?
Oh, I really have a hard time taking too much from him because in a lot of games, there's so many different players that are missing, and we don't know, if the teams are really the teams other than just in the playoff thing. Like last night, I think LSU played Kansas State and got routed, and they played a wide receiver at quarterback because all their quarterbacks were either transferred or injured or whatever. But the biggest thing I guess I take away with is there's still such a big gap between Alabama and Georgia and Clemson and those kinds of teams and the rest of college football. When you get into the playoffs, the semifinal games are always bad. I mean, they're one-sided. Cincinnati wasn't good enough to beat Alabama, as we suspected, because we saw Cincinnati against Indiana. And I thought Michigan would give Georgia a better game than that, but they were outmanned, and that wasn't much of a game either.
Yeah, and it makes the Big Ten wonder. I'm like, where do you have to go? Because you're not there. This is a level where you have to be, and they're not there. Because if Michigan was the best that they had, they're not at the and there could be a third SEC team better. I don't know, but there's no question. Year after year, the SEC has got the top two teams, and that's not fun for anybody. Nobody wants to see that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the TV ratings, I think, were down. I saw like by 2 million. It'll be interesting to see what they're like Monday night because it's basically just the SEC championship game playing in the heart of Big Ten country. And what you really see is that, everybody talked about Michigan's defense and how good their defensive line was with Aiden Hutchinson, and I forget the name of the other guy, and they were no factor. I mean, they really were no factor. And when you look at the quality or the talent of the linebackers and to me of the linemen and those elite SEC teams and everybody else, it's just a big gap. And, Michigan didn't get much of a pass rush on Stetson Bennett and really couldn't run the ball the way they normally do against Georgia's defense. And we've seen it with so many different teams and so many different coaches that it's not just scheme related. It's just the other teams have better players.
Closer to home, you had an article not too long ago talking about the improved teams. Indiana, obviously not one of them at 2-10. I was talking about it just a little bit ago. The genesis of some of their biggest problems, offensive line, zero change made there in any way whatsoever. That really makes you just kind of scratch your head and wonder, okay, well, what are you thinking is the problem? Since it sure seemed like that was a problem. I don't know how they move forward without changing anything there and expecting something different.
I agree. It's puzzling to me that the only change so far, I believe, on the staff has been offensive coordinator, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know enough about the technicalities of football to know whether Darren Hiller is or isn't a good offensive line coach. Tom Allen obviously thinks that he is, but the results haven't been there for several years. And I know they have a few freshmen coming in, I think, as recruits. I know they have the kid from Fort Wayne and maybe another guy, but I don't think they went in the portal and got any offensive linemen. And so I agree with you. I'm a little mystified of how they think that's going to be better. They must believe just another year of experience or weight training or whatever, or a change in scheme in whatever reasons. But the offensive line was so, and it wasn't just last year, really, even the year when they went 6-2, they couldn't run the ball. And now who's going to be the starting running back next year?
I don't know.
The kid from Auburn, he seems like more of a situational back. They got I think there's another one who came, and I don't know. It's interesting. You don't know who the quarterback really is going to be. I guess it'll be Tuttle, but I don't know. I'm surprised there hasn't been more change.
Well, there's Keegan mentioned earlier that there's been talk from Reese Plumlee of Ole Miss potentially coming to Indiana, but that's not. I don't know if that's a problem solver. It's a name, but I don't know that it's a problem solver.
Right.
But they'll certainly have to deal with that. Also, something I saw in regards to college basketball in North Carolina State. Well, before I jump, Purdue, big jump for them this year. Jeff Brom, 9 wins. So they hadn't done that since 2008, I think.
Right.
It had been a while. So everybody wondering, when's Jeff Brom going to start making his money? Well, you got 9 wins. And if you can do it again next year, then that'll be the telltale sign, because Tiller did it. That's been a decade ago. But that's what people from Purdue have been wanting to see, what they got this year.
Yeah. With Purdue, I guess I'd say two things. One is he made changes. Defense was not great the year before, and he brought in a new defensive coordinator, I think from the FCS level, and made a difference. And they had some nice wins. I mean, they won at Iowa, obviously. That's a nice win. They beat Tennessee in the bowl game, and that was one of the better bowl games I watched the entire bowl season. That was a really entertaining game. It was a great advertisement for Purdue football. My question, I guess, for Purdue going forward is, they lose Bell and they lose Karlaftis. That's their best offensive and defensive player, especially Bell. How much will that affect them? But the one thing I've seen from Brom is he can develop a quarterback. I mean, he had quarterbacks at Western Kentucky who were no-name guys who put up huge numbers. He got David Blau is one of them, who's now with the that's Purdue. He's Purdue. There's another guy. I forgot the guy's name. The first guy at Western. The second guy at Western was Mike White, who came from South Florida, who really wasn't very good, and he had a great year under Brom. And now he's done the same thing. That guy that finished the year for him this year, he's a former walk-on, right? O'Connell, is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing as a quarterback coach. And that the proof is in the results after a while.
And he has Brian Brom alongside of him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, Jeff learned from, you were around. I mean, Jeff learned from Howard Schnellenberger, and football has changed and football has evolved, but there's some basics that linger through the years. And Howard Schnellenberger knew how to pass the ball a long time ago, learned it in the NFL, refined it with the Miami Hurricanes. And then Jeff also played for Bobby Ross, who was a really good coach. He was with, I think, Bill Walsh briefly. He might have been with Shanahan briefly. I mean, he's been around some guys who know how to coach the game. And, let's be honest, Purdue's quarterback play has been good. And it's not like they've had, Lamar Jackson or Dan Marino or John Elway or somebody. He's just had guys. It's
been better than the players,
I
think. He's gotten more from the talent than what they actually have.
Yeah, and his niche is, I mean, he's gotten good receivers. I mean, Bell's not the only one. He had Rondell Moore, and he's got the kid down here from Louisville, Milton Wright. He's had some other receivers, and I'm sure he's recruited some more. And he's a decent tight ends, and Schnellenberger was really big on tight end play. And so there's something to be learned from what Brom's done. And he's got the advantage. We have to point. He's in the Big Ten West, which is definitely easier than the Big Ten East. That's the biggest problem Indiana has. They're in that division with, and there's like 4 schools that clearly invest more money, have more tradition, have bigger and better stadiums and facilities, and care about football a lot more than Indiana does. And it's been that way for decade after decade, and it's not going to change in a year or two. For Indiana to change that, it's going to have to be a slow, gradual process of moving up the ladder. And I think what's been hard for Indiana is for the 2019 and 2020, it seemed like they were moving up the ladder. But this year was such a dramatic fall backwards of, 2-10, but really a non-competitive 2-10, that it makes people wonder, how valid 2019 and 2020 were.
Yeah, and then my question is, why does the Big Ten refuse to acknowledge the fact that they need to do something about realignment for its own benefit, to make it a more appealing product, to make it, it would just, there's so many benefits to it. And it's not like that you have to physically pick up the schools and move them. That's what they act like. That they're acting like you have to physically pick these schools up and move them, that this is so difficult when it's not. And I don't understand the reluctance to even acknowledge the fact that it's there. When that's basically when you hear Warren talk, it's like there's just no acknowledgement to me.
Part of it might be that I'm not sure they know what the other solution would be. If you can't go east and west, then what do you have to do? Go north and south?
I mean, I don't even care if you can put an East team in the West for all I care. I don't even care what you call it. Just don't call it. You can't call it leaders and legends, though. That did not go over well.
No, I think for a long time, Jim, they thought Nebraska was going to solve that problem. Nebraska was going to give them a signature program in the West, and it hasn't developed that way at all. And I guess a lot of them would say the only person, the school that suffers the most from it, or the schools that suffer the most from it, are, Indiana and Rutgers, and they don't really care. I mean, I think it's fairly clear that the Big Ten, whatever's best for Michigan and Ohio State, is what the Big Ten's going to do. And Michigan and Ohio State have thrived under the situation, so they see no reason to change. The East has won every Big Ten championship football game, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
and that has been Ohio State. With I think 80% of those, Michigan now has one, and what does Penn State have one?
I think Michigan State had one. Didn't Michigan State make the playoffs?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
One year where they
forgot about that.
Penn State, I don't think it's ever done it. I don't think they have. I don't think
they lose that year. They lost that year. Okay, so Ohio State has probably 3 of them or whatever it is. It's not. I mean, five. I mean, it's crazy. Basketball, Purdue, of course, losing. Michigan losing. The 2 top teams at the top. Purdue, a little surprising.
1 and 2
going down. 1 and 2. No one. I'd like to have had money on that. No one would have predicted that. I certainly did not. Didn't one of those losses come at home?
Yeah, the last one did to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
the first
team that Indiana had down by 22 at Wisconsin.
Yeah, that was a bad loss. Purdue, I think, will be okay. The team that's not going to be okay probably is Michigan. And everybody forgets. I think Michigan was ranked ahead of Purdue in the initial AP poll. They were like 5th in the country, and the Boilermakers were maybe 6th.
Well, everybody thought Michigan was going to be we all thought Michigan was going to be the team based off of last year. Didn't know exactly how good Purdue was going to be athletic wise, and still starting to wonder now. Zach Edey, while gigantic, is very immobile. He's not a very mobile guy.
Right.
And so, but his size does a lot to overcome, but hey, if you can obviously they can be outplayed. They were beaten by a team that is not overly athletic, and I don't know how else to describe
what's
Wisconsin.
Interesting about the Big Ten is before the season started, I think everybody thought there were 4, maybe 5 clear-cut candidates to be Big Ten Player of the Year. It was Trace Jackson Davis, Hunter Dickinson, E.J. Liddell, Jaden Ivey, and Travion Williams. And if you voted today, it'd probably be Johnny Davis of Wisconsin or Keegan Murray of Iowa. And I saw Mike Pegram had a pretty good note that both those guys were 3-star recruits who weren't ranked among the top 100 in their class. So that shows you you can find guys. And I mean, this kid at Wisconsin he's been unbelievable. I mean, they didn't just beat. They've got some other quality wins. They won the Maui Invitational, remember? And he's in the hunt to be like a first-team All-American. He's been really good.
And somebody like Reese Thompson. Reese Thompson is almost. I wish I could have his numbers in front of me, but he has to be almost averaging a double-double right now, because he's almost scoring one. Now he's not up and down like Trace Jackson can be, but he's been the most consistent player, it seems like at times for Indiana down below, even more so than Trace Jackson has been.
Well, I think that was the most pointed comment after the loss to Penn State was from Mike Davis about Trace Jackson Davis only having 5 rebounds, and can't happen. I mean, that's one thing, the really elite big men do is they take care of business offensively and defensively, and then rebounding. And they're
averaging the exact same. Trace Jackson is averaging 0.2 more rebounds per game than Reese.
Well, the one killer possession in the game there was that possession late in the game where Penn State got 3 offensive rebounds. I mean, they had the ball for like 2 minutes there. Remember that play?
Yep.
Yeah, that killed them. But this is a big 4-day stretch for Indiana. They got Ohio State at home on Thursday night, their first chance to get a signature win because they don't have one yet. And then you got Minnesota at home on Sunday, and you got to win that game. Illinois blew out Minnesota last night in Minneapolis. So that's until they start getting some road wins, they have to win every home game to maintain their place. Because I think Lenardi dropped them down to like last four in or last four buys or something after the loss to Penn State. That wasn't a good loss.
No, it was a horrible loss. But Indiana's season as it progresses, until they find, they've got Trace Jackson and Reese down low. They've got their deals going on together. Xavier, he's doing his thing, but his thing, I think, involves people like Miller Kopp and Parker Stewart, who have not gotten involved to the level that they found a comfort role. That position, it just doesn't seem comfortable no matter who's in it yet for Indiana's offense to be a completely flowing machine. And that seems to be, to me, what is preventing them from being better. They just don't have a flowing offense.
No, I agree. And I think that a lot of people have discussed that over the last few days. And I've seen a lot of suggestions that might be time for a change in the starting lineup to the Kopp and Stewart's skill sets are too similar that they're both basically just catch and shoot guys for the most part. Kopp's shown a little bit more ability to drive the ball inside and get maybe a 12-foot shot. But if you got two guys out on the wing that people don't really have to worry about driving the ball, it makes it too easy for the defense. And you might have to go to, I know at times he played Johnson and Finney against Penn State. And I don't know whether that's the answer or Galloway's the answer. I've seen people advocate for Bates, but he didn't play very well at all against Penn State. And, Geronimo seems to, he's productive when he's in there in terms of getting rebounds and stuff, but he's not ready, in my opinion, in terms of handling the ball and creating shots for other people. I mean, a lot of people, when you look at players, you judge them by what they do for themselves, but the really good players do things for themselves and they do things for their teammates. And Geronimo's ball handling and passing skills, to me, are not yet at the point where he's, a major plus on offense.
Yeah, looking in Big Ten games only, Miller Kopp has shot 0 free throws. Has gotten to the line 0 times. Rob Finney has only shot 3. Finney 2. Race Thompson 2. They're not getting to
in 3 Big Ten games.
That's in 3 big. I know it's only 3, but that's 3 Big Ten games, and especially with Race Thompson being down low, how in the world he's only shot 2 free throws is beyond me. Parker Stewart 0, like I said, and Miller Kopp 0. So you've got 2 starters who have not even been to the free throw line yet.
That tells you they're not driving the ball and not putting any pressure on the defense.
Exactly, and not that it's like it's just a one. It's either going through Trace or Racer, and that's it with Xavier. And there is no wing action for Indiana. I don't know what the wings are supposed to do in this offense, but there's not production coming from it.
Yeah, and I think we've seen, and I've talked about this before, just in his recruiting. I think that's an acknowledgement from Mike Woodson that he knows that needs to change because their top recruit, Hood Schifino, is a guy who drives the ball and is good at he's a point guard who's better at setting other people up than he is for himself. And that Caleb Banks, the kid out of Georgia, is a forward who can drive the ball as well as shoot it. And CJ Gunn is probably known a little bit more as a shooter, but I think he's capable of driving the ball, and he knows that needs to be fixed. You got to have guys who, when they have the ball in their hands, put pressure on the defense, who can beat their defender and make somebody else then have to make a decision of like, am I going to let this guy, get a shot off, or am I going to switch onto him and leave the defense vulnerable in another spot? And they don't. I'm talking about players like Troy Williams or Yogi Ferrell or Victor Oladipo or Sheehy or whoever you want to talk, guys who could drive the ball and put pressure on the defense, and they don't have a bunch of those guys.
Let's see. One other subject I wanted to grab real quick. as North Carolina State, the first team to be hit by the NCAA's new, what do they call that? The IARR, whatever, independent accounting resolution process. They got off kind of easy, but still a lot of teams yet to go. Louisville, one of those teams in that Kansas. Louisville's in a different situation,
Auburn
obviously,
got off
but
easy too.
so it's the NCAA is obviously just what they're wanting to get through this as quickly as possible. Just get back to making money. Or do you think Louisville's going to get off? Because they have a lot more goes on in that situation.
There is more optimism around here than there was, several months ago. But I don't know. Louisville's in a different situation than these other schools in that they were already on probation when this went down, so that puts them in a different light, I think. But we'll see. I mean, I think most people thought the penalties would be more stringent against Auburn and NC State, and they weren't. So there's reason.
Are you shocked that there weren't just a little bit more bite to these?
Yeah, I'm shocked. But I think the NCAA, as you mentioned, they've recognized that, we're now in the NIL era, and the culture has changed, and some of the things that weren't accepted before are now being accepted. And I think they're really afraid to take on schools. They're just trying to. I don't even know what their role is at times because they haven't shown much leadership in terms of setting out any guidelines on how schools should deal with the pandemic. For sure, there's most leagues, every league goes its own way in terms of setting up, forfeits or non-forfeits or how many guys you have to play and all those things. Not a lot of leadership coming out of Indianapolis.
If they're expecting the conferences to police themselves, and not trying to throw shade, but how is the SEC expected to really police the football end of things when that was already a wild, wild west scenario before this came along. And now it is just throw the saloon doors open, baby.
Yeah. I mean, and as we've said many times, football generates 2, 3, 4 times as much income as basketball. And all the conversation and all this recruiting stuff has always been about basketball. You're telling me that things aren't going on to a much greater degree in football when there's so much more money at stake? I mean, come on.
Absolutely. What's coming up next for you? I know you've got several things out at WDRB.com for folks to read. You should go there if you don't.
Mainly just basketball stuff. Louisville plays probably the worst team in the ACC tonight in Pittsburgh.
That's saying something.
They're bad. And I think somebody said this is I don't know how many years it is, but it's a lot of years. This week was the first time in 30, 40, 50 years that there's only one ACC team got any votes in the AP college basketball poll. One team, Duke.
I saw that there was only one team.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a league that really has prided itself for a long, long time as being the best basketball conference in America because of the Duke, North Carolina pedigree. It's not a very sexy league this year. So that's good for Louisville because, they got enough players, and if they can keep improving, they can finish in the top 4 for sure, and maybe as high as, second or third.
It's going to be an interesting season, man. Look forward to it. Make sure you go to WDRB.com and give Rick a follow for all his great articles there to be read. And I'm sitting there trying to finish one up there on the one on Jeff Brom. That was a great one. Well, man, I look forward to it. Are you going? What next game to go to? Are you going to Ohio State, or are you staying close to home?
I don't think I'm coming up on Thursday. I might go to Kentucky on Saturday.
Who are they playing Saturday?
Tom Green. Tom Green brings Georgia into town. Did you see what happened to him last night?
I did not.
Georgia, which is really not very good. They've lost home games to Gardner Webb, East Tennessee State, Wofford, and one other one. George Mason had Texas A&M down by 1 or 2 with less than 5 seconds to go, and Texas A&M threw the ball in and Guy drove down the right side of the court and pulled up outside the 3-point line and hit a 3-pointer with 0.9 of a second to go to beat Georgia.
Yeah, I assumed this was going to be his last season there anyway, but those games
Sure
like
seems
that
way. I mean, their computer ranking's like 221, which is can't remember the last time a team from a Power 5 league was ranked in the 200s. But
is Georgia a team like Alabama who put money in? I mean,
Right.
they went out and got Nate Oates, who did, but he was doing a hell of a job at Buffalo and came right in and is doing a hell of a job. But they put money into it. Is Georgia willing to put money into the basketball program?
The problem Georgia has, I mean, they put money in the coaching staff for sure. I mean, Crean's making, $1 million for sure near the, middle of the pack in the SEC. But their facility is old. They renovated it once, in the last 10 or 12 years, which tells me they're not interested in building a new basketball facility. But it should be better than that. I mean, you got good high school basketball in Georgia. I mean, that
Atlanta, you got the Atlanta area, man.
Yeah. Indiana's going down there.
I was going to say, Indiana has more players from the Atlanta area than Georgia does.
Yeah. Indiana, I mean, Auburn's gone in there, and Auburn's top 10 in the country. They've got a bunch of kids. What's hurt Crean the most this year is I think 8 or 9 guys transferred out after last year. One of them's a starting point guard at Kentucky. Another one's a starting guard at Auburn. When you're losing guys from your own program who are staying in the SEC and coming back to play against you, that's tough.
Yes.
That's tough. And, I wish him well, and I hope they turn it around, but he's in a tough spot.
Yeah. Indiana football had a little of that. They had 3 players transfer to Purdue.
Yeah. What's the explanation behind that?
Man, I don't know. I asked a couple
Mark
people
Hagan?
and you know what? I don't know. I'm going to have to keep digging. I'd like to know because 2 of them were running backs, but all 3 were offensive players, I believe.
No, one was a defensive lineman. That Lewis, I think his name was.
Lewis. Yeah.
And then Sample
And
James, and then Reese
and
Taylor
the defensive line was bringing in so many people. But Reese Taylor, that one has to really hurt because of his stature and all of that.
Yeah, he played a lot at Indiana, right?
And Tim Baldwin Jr. I mean, man, it's just they lost some. They've lost some talent. And it's surprising with the fact that they have who they have as the running backs coach. I thought it was going to be an opposite situation for Indiana with Delon McCullough coming in from the Chiefs.
Right.
Maybe he's tough. Tough standards. Who knows?
Yeah. Didn't they bring in a couple transfer running backs? I think they did, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's enough to get it done though, but we'll certainly see. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Relax. Have you walked the dog yet?
No, we're going to walk tonight. She's at doggy daycare right now.
Perfect. Well, appreciate you, brother. Go out and stay warm.
All right, man.
Thank you very much. Rick Bozich, Hall of Famer writer from WDRB.com. Make sure you go there and follow him. I do. That's a great place to read and stay up on all kinds of sports, whether it's Indiana, whether it's the Big Ten, Purdue. He covers everything regionally and nationally as well. We got lots more coming up. Finish up back with that right after this.
So we'll have
9 minus 3 is 6 minutes.
Well, no, it's 5 because we can't go over 156.
4, 3, 2, 1. Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. I could sit there and talk to Rick all day. He is a Hall of Fame writer, my friend.
Yeah, I didn't know how tall he was until he was sitting next to me at the Nebraska game.
He's about 6'5".
Yeah.
He went to the same high school at the same time, I believe, as Popovich, Greg Popovich.
Really?
Maryville up in the region. Ground control to Major Tom. That's right, baby. Systems. I love that song. That's my favorite David Bowie song. We're all watching and listening to you, by the way.
I know my girlfriend's trying to get me to try a green weird juice that I don't want to try.
It's probably kale and some BS like that.
Literally from a place called Kale Me Crazy.
Why would I want that for breakfast? If you're going to give it to me, your best bet is from noon on, but not breakfast. Why?
No, all the stuff settles at the bottom too, and you have to shake it up to get it to mix. No.
That means it does the same thing in your stomach.
Yeah.
Turns into a big old brick. Bozich is the best. He is a true Hall of Famer. You bet the game gets canceled. Jennifer? Are you talking about the Ohio State game?
Yeah, Ross put injury announcements, and she thought it might have been COVID, but it's not. It's just injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't.
Man,
the place is gonna be rocking.
You think it will be rocking?
Oh, yeah.
Indiana?
Yeah.
The students are back, are they?
The fans will pack it. We're back 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Ground control to Major Tom. Hope you're having a great day. That's the back music. So instead of hearing it, I'll sing it for you. Hope your week's going well, man. The first week after New Year's, kind of hard because you've had those 2 short weeks. Not only first of all, you get the first week, which is a short week because of Christmas. And then you've got that dead week in between. That should just be just vacation. Just forget it. Let's shut it down. And every year, I think that Christmas and New Year should be on the weekend. That was seriously that or Wednesday to Wednesday kind of. Well, no, it's a weekend to weekend kind of a thing. I loved that. It was nice. That was. Yeah. And I took a few days off for the first time in 5 years. Oh my gosh, that was enjoyable. Ignored the phone as much as possible. But we're back at it. Fred asking, wasn't Michigan basketball ranked preseason this year? Yeah, they were like top 5. No, I think they were top 3, I believe. But of course, you're basing that on Indiana was ranked 17th in football. Everyone was basing it on last year's success. Now, I will say I'm a little surprised at Michigan's problems thus far, but just let the season play out. Is Michigan, do they have injuries? I have not kept up with it.
I don't think so, but they had the 3rd ranked recruiting class out of 2021 too. Yeah. So they were ranked highly in the AP poll in recruiting class, and they have just fallen. I know they lost at home to Minnesota, and that was a shocker. Not sure if
Michigan. But Minnesota's a lot better than people expected them to be.
First-year head coach, and I remember at Big Ten Media Days, he was up there for maybe a minute and a half. Answered like 3 questions, and then no one wanted to hear from him, and now he's making a lot of noise.
Who are you talking about?
Minnesota's head coach. I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure it's his first year.
Well, let's see. What is that right now? They're also 1-2 in the league, but overall they're 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
All they have to do, they just have to have a 500 Big Ten year.
Yeah.
They just have to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. They need to beat the Nebraskas, get a win over a Maryland, maybe an Indiana, a Penn State, an Iowa, Northwestern, Rutgers. Man, all you have to do is pile up 7 wins. 8 or since they're 10-2, that means they've already played they played 3 conference games. And so they're 1-2 in the league. So they've already got one win. But that leaves you with 20 minus. You got 17 more games left. Mm-hmm. So if you win half of those, let's give them 8 wins. That gives them 18 wins. They're in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
All they have to do is win half their games. But that's the same with Indiana. Indiana's has to win half their games. You start counting wins. You start counting where you're going to be able to get those 2 as well. So that's why this Ohio State game kind of crucial for Indiana. People talked about that Penn State game being, I hate the word must win in January or this time of year, but you have to start counting wins. You've had one game. Was it the UNC Asheville game that got canceled? So you lost a win there, a sure win. Now you're all down to conference games, and you lost one you shouldn't have. So I'm just saying it adds up, and you start counting where can you get these wins. And Ohio State, if they were to lose at home to the Buckeyes, that would put them at 1-4. 1-3 in the Big Ten to start. That really would put them behind the 8 ball. This is a very, very important win or a game for Indiana. They need to come out and play a hell of a lot better than they have been and more completely. They've just got to play. You've just got to have to decide to play and play within the confines of what is going on in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Just get after it.
Yeah.
We're about out of time, so that's going to wrap that up. Back tomorrow, Thursday, always a big day. Dustin Schutte, looking forward to that. Chris Denari, Matt Taylor. Let's see, anybody else? And
John, the producer.
John will be back. John, the producer, will be back. Thank you, Keegan. We appreciate you, even though you did not provide us with any fancy tree falling video. Very, very disappointed in that. But thank you, sir. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday, I assume.
Me, yes. Yes, I will be at Assembly Hall.
All right, everyone else, go out and have yourselves a great day. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. We're so thankful for you. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.